Hi, I'm Wade, 26, and I showed up to my grandparents' house in a taxi with glitter in my hair and boxes full of Christmas ornaments, because my sister took my car. It was the BMW my grandpa gave me when I turned 21. A sensible, second-hand sedan with a big trunk and brakes he trusted more than any of us. He called it a craftsman's car. And he was right. I'm not a CEO or a content creator. I run a tiny ornament workshop out of a rented garage that smells like lacquer and old coffee grounds. I hand-paint robins, snow cabins, and glass globes that don't leak if you seal them right. My wrists shake if I don't breathe slow. But I love it. That Saturday, I was balancing a box on my knee, trying to open the screen door with my elbow, when Grandpa appeared in his sweater vest like always. He smiled wide, until he saw the cab pulling away. "Buddy," he said, voice warm. "Why'd you come by taxi? What happened to the BMW we gave you?" I opened my mouth. And then Mom walked into the hall with that bright, weaponized smile. "That car belongs to his sister now," she said cheerfully, like it was a funny little thing that made sense to everyone. The air in the house actually changed. My uncle stopped chewing. Even the old grandfather clock got louder. And Grandpa, he just went real still. Looked at her, looked at me, looked back at her like he was checking a recipe he didn't remember writing. "Belongs to who?" he asked, even though he'd heard it. "To Bree," Mom said. "You know how hard she works." I'm pretty sure my eye twitched at that. Because Bree does. Branding. She drinks smoothies on camera and gets free leggings and calls it influence. Me? I haul sample boxes to freezing markets, and use a spreadsheet to track glitter expenses. She has meetings, Mom added. Wade hardly drives. He just paints little balls. That hit. Not because it wasn't true, but because it was the kind of true designed to shrink me. Grandpa didn't argue. He didn't yell. He just patted my shoulder and led me to the table like we were going to talk about mulch. He folded his napkin slowly, like a judge about to rule on a very stupid case. I wish I could tell you I said something brave then. I'd love to say I stood up and laid it all out. I didn't. I sat down, thumb pressed into the edge of a box until I felt the cardboard bite skin. And then Grandpa asked his first question in the same tone he uses to ask contractors why drywall costs double. "When did the car start belonging to your sister?" Mom said. "Dad, don't let the boy speak," Grandpa said. I swallowed the truth that had been crouched in my chest for years. "I don't know," I said. "It just happened." And that, right there, was the problem. It always just happened. It started with favors. That's how it always starts in families like mine. Bree needed a ride to a shoot. The brand collab place was just across town, quick in, quick out. I handed over the keys without thinking. Then it became weekends. Then weekdays. Then, "You don't really need it, right?" Slipped in like a throw pillow on someone else's couch. And somehow, without a single real conversation, the BMW just lived at Bree's. When I finally asked for it back, to haul a booth set up for the December craft market, she laughed. Not cruel, just confused, like I was asking to borrow her curling iron. "I already have shoots." "You work in a garage," she said. Like it was weather. Like it was a fact. Like it was fine. Mom sighed through her nose when I pushed harder. "You hardly drive," she muttered. "You're being selfish, Wade. Bree has meetings. Uber it, it's a business expense." They always said it was about family. That we were a team. That I was the entrepreneur and should just write it off. So I did. I Ubered across town with heavy boxes. I hauled paint and panels in the back of confused drivers' cars. I smiled so they wouldn't think I was nuts. I told myself it was temporary. But then charges started hitting my business account. $249 for a promoted post package. $119 for influencer boost. Little things, steady like a dripping tap. The family marketing account, which Bree had set up for me, was linked to my card. When I brought it up, she blinked like she didn't know how it happened. "The brand has to grow," she said. "What brand?" I asked. She just blinked again, like I was missing the obvious. Mom popped in from the kitchen. "Your sister's bringing attention to your little shop. That's priceless." I started tracking everything. Every dollar. Every favor. Every guilt-tripped yes. At 2 a.m., in my freezing garage, because the space heater kept tripping the breaker, I made a spreadsheet. Mortgage transfers, because just this once turned into 4 months. Gas for a car I didn't have. Gifted inventory Bree promised to influencers. Refunds she approved for. Audience goodwill. And then Thanksgiving hit. In the group chat called Hearth and Home, a name that's funnier when you're the one paying, Mom posted the plan. Everyone kicks in $300 for catering. Bree can't, she added. She's investing in content. Wade will cover her. She also added. He still owes us for the car insurance. I typed 10 replies. Erased them all. Then finally. I've covered a lot. I need the BMW back. Also, stop using my card. Mom replied immediately. Ungrateful. That car was given to our family. We decide what's best. Bree hearted it and dropped a selfie captioned. On the grind? Dad sent a thumbs up emoji. The universal sign for I'm not getting involved. That same week, my account overdraft when the shop rent hit. I didn't go home that night. I slept on a camping mat between racks of unpainted ornaments, cold and wired and exhausted. I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. This is the last time I carry everyone. Next time they ask, I will say something. And then, I'll mean it. 2 days later, I was back at Grandpa's table. Same chair, same napkin folds, same look in his eye, calm, like a chess player who already knows how the match ends. He didn't ask how I was. He just nudged a yellow legal pad toward me and said, Tell me what you owe. And what they owe you. I opened my laptop. It took an hour. Mortgage transfers, 4, totaling $7,200 with fees. Utilities, $950 across 6 months. Business at charges I didn't authorize, $743. 11. Gas and insurance on the BMW while it sat in Bree's driveway, $1,160. Gifted inventory, refunded orders, influencer. Support. Marketing boosts, all racked up under my name, $580. 38. The total, $8,742. 19. Grandpa didn't blink. He made a single tick mark for every $100. Each one like a nail in a coffin. When I finished, he looked at me, not shocked, not angry. Just steady. You've been subsidizing their lifestyle, he said. They're calling it love to make it go down smooth. Something broke and healed at the same time. Because someone else had finally said it. Out loud. Without spin. Then Grandpa poured coffee and said, Okay. Here's what we do. That night, I changed every password. Unlinked every account. Locked out every shared platform. I ordered a new Square reader and closed the joint family bank account that Mom forgot I could access. I drafted a PDF, 2 pages titled, Record of Transfers, Unauthorized Charges, and Inventory Losses. I sent it to the Hearth and Home group chat and the newly created holiday strategy thread that Mom had added me to earlier that week, which included terrifying color-coded spreadsheets labeled like a marketing hostage situation. 60% Bree branding, 20% family fund, 20% Wade, materials. That's right. Mom had planned to take 80% of my holiday sales and wanted me to provide the ornaments. That night I messaged. Me. Please see attached PDF. Total, $8,742. 19 in business and household charges covered by me this year. I will not fund your bills this winter. I will not use Bree's marketing plan. I will not split profits. Return the BMW by Friday 5 p.m., or I will report unauthorized use of a business asset. The reaction came fast. Mom. Threats to your own mother? Shame. Bree. Over a car? Grow up. Dad. Let's calm down. I didn't reply. I printed 2 booth signs. One read. Custom name ornaments, cash, card, or Venmo. The other. Family discount suspended. Taping up that second sign felt like digging out a splinter. It hurt. Then it stopped hurting. Friday came. 5 p.m., no BMW. At 5:26 I clicked. Report vehicle misuse. With my insurer. I sent the PDF to the whole family, my aunt, a paralegal, and Grandpa. Subject line. Business asset use, record for files. Phone lit up like a slot machine. Mom. How dare you involve outsiders? Bree. You ruined my weekend. Me. Return the car or I proceed. At 7:11 p.m., headlights swung into the workshop lot. Bree stepped out in full pout mode. She tossed the keys like they were gum wrappers and wouldn't meet my eyes. Tanks low, she said. I needed it. There was a fresh scratch on the rear door. I took photos. I said nothing. She ordered an Uber and left like it wasn't a thing. Like the last 5 years hadn't happened. The lot was quiet, just the cheap banner flapping against its grommets. I leaned my forehead against the BMW's roof. And shook. Not crying. Just shaking, rage, grief, relief, everything all tangled. Then my phone buzzed. Grandpa. Proud of you. Come by tomorrow. And just like that, the balance started shifting. The next morning was cold in that December way where the air feels like biting foil. I opened the workshop at 6 a.m. The BMW parked snug in its spot, a steering wheel club locked in place like armor. I brewed coffee strong enough to stand a spoon and laid out my ornaments. Hand-painted mittens, dog bones, snow cabins with names like the Jenkinses and Milo 2023. I didn't expect much. But Grandpa showed up at 9 on the dot. Wool coat. Fresh haircut. A thermos of his motor oil coffee in one hand, cash in the other. He bought 6 ornaments he didn't need and took the spare stool behind the booth like he'd always been part of the display. Didn't say anything about the BMW. Didn't ask about Mom. He just sat there and commented on my lettering like a sports announcer. Good curve on that G, very clean loop on the L. By noon, I'd sold out of the dog bones. A woman asked for one with Milo and a tiny heart. As I wrote it, my phone vibrated like it was on a griddle. Mom. You embarrassed us with that email. If insurance goes up, you're paying. We're family. Families share. I muted the thread and kept painting. Milo got a little bow tie. It came out perfect. At 2 o'clock, Dad showed up. Hands stuffed in jacket pockets like they might do something illegal if left unattended. He didn't look me in the eye. Your mother's upset, he said to the pavement. I know about the money. I won't discuss it without Grandpa, I said calmly, like someone reading the weather report. That seemed to short-circuit him. He nodded and walked off like a guy who wandered into the wrong dentist office. By evening, Mom had posted a Facebook rant about children who forget who fed them, and tagged me. One aunt texted, apologize. Another texted, proud of you. Quietly, like a secret handshake. Sunday morning, Grandpa called a family coffee meeting. Everyone came. You always show up when Grandpa calls. Doesn't matter if you're mad, tired, or actively being sued. He had 2 folders laid out. My spreadsheet, printed and tabbed. And a second thinner one, legal-looking, with a post-it that said, for Wade. Mom launched immediately. Dad, Wade is blowing this up. Bree needed support. He's punishing her. She's the face of the family business. We'll start with numbers. Grandpa interrupted. He tapped my spreadsheet. Wade has transferred nearly $9,000 to your household this year. He's also paid $2,000 in business charges, unauthorized. He lost use of a vehicle I bought him specifically for work. That is theft by use, even if you didn't mean harm. Bree's mouth opened. Then closed. Mom let out a sharp, fake laugh. Don't use legal terms. This is family. Family, Grandpa said, should be the last place you encounter theft. Silence. Even the fridge stopped humming like it didn't want to be involved. Then he turned to me. What do you want, Wade? I didn't make a speech. Just 3 things. I want the charges to stop. I want repayment on a plan. And I want a boundary. My business is mine. Grandpa nodded, slid the thinner folder to me. Then this is yours. Years ago, I set aside a small trust meant for family emergencies. After watching how this family defines need, I'm assigning it to your business. It's enough for a proper lease and a second workbench. Mom's chair scraped back. She stood so fast the table shook. You can't reward his tantrum, she hissed. You're encouraging selfishness. Grandpa didn't flinch. I'm encouraging work, he said. And boundaries. Dad tried the middle road. Maybe once things stabilize, Wade can contribute again to the house. No, I said, quiet. Clear. I won't fund the house. If you need help, I'll bring groceries. That's it. Mom pointed a trembling finger at me. You owe us. We raised you. You raised me to be useful, I said. I'm choosing to be respected. Bree looked like someone had unplugged her ring light. So what happens to me? She asked, voice small. I was counting on, collabs. If your brand needs your brother's money to exist, Grandpa said gently. It isn't a brand. It's dependence. Bree looked like she might cry, then got mad at herself for almost crying. Whatever, she snapped. I'll figure it out. I hope you do, I said. No dramatic ending. No hugs. No group photo under fairy lights. I took the folder and walked back into my life. I signed the lease that Tuesday. Corner unit, 320 square feet, big clean windows, a back entrance, and enough power outlets to run a small spaceship. The paint still smelled new. The landlord said, "It's not much." But to me, it was a cathedral. That night, I moved my racks under cover of darkness with help from my neighbor, Jeanette, a night shift nurse who refuses cash and accepts payment in the form of custom ornaments. She picked out a glittered Best Neighbor 2025 with a lopsided wreath and called it perfect. I believed her. I put up a clean sign in the window. Wade Works, custom hand-painted ornaments. Store hours, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, custom orders welcome. The next morning, I posted a single video, hands only. No voice. No music. Just me dotting snow onto a tiny blue mailbox ornament. Within an hour, it had 100 likes. None of them were family. One of them was Grandpa. He doesn't even have an account. That means my cousin showed him how to log in and press the heart button. On purpose. Mom adjusted tactics. She texted, "Bree wants to launch her own line. Can you loan her some blanks?" I replied. "No," she said. "That's dramatic." I said, "Okay." That was the whole conversation. A week later, she asked to borrow the BMW so Dad could check something under the hood. I said, "The car stays in my lot with a club lock." She didn't reply. Bree posted a video rebranding herself, lifestyle vlogger now. Thrifting tips, apartment resets, light filters. She didn't ask for blanks again. She came into the shop once, bought a tiny camera ornament for a friend, paid full price with her phone. She didn't ask for a discount. We didn't hug. We didn't argue. We were just two adults at a counter. It wasn't a reunion. It wasn't closure. But it felt like a beginning. Customers started telling me their stories while I lettered names. A nurse who stopped paying her brother's traffic tickets. A son who reclaimed the family pickup that had become an Uber for everyone but him. A grandmother who said no to being the family holiday ATM. They left with ribbons. And lighter shoulders. Turns out, a custom ornament weighs almost nothing. But sometimes it's the first thing someone's carried that didn't come with guilt. One Tuesday, Grandpa sat in the back of the shop doing a crossword with his reading glasses on and said without looking up, "Work is long. But honest. That beats applause." I kept painting. My hands didn't shake. Boundaries look mean to people who benefit from you not having any. They call your no betrayal. They rewrite your limits as selfishness. They make being you sound like being loved. I used to fall for that. I don't anymore. January was quiet. And for the first time in years I liked quiet. Quiet is where you hear yourself think. Where your breath evens out without asking. When no one is tapping your shoulder asking for just this one thing. They swear they'll pay back later. With the trust money Grandpa handed over, I fixed the leaking garage roof, installed a real spray booth, and bought a second workbench. I hired a high schooler named Jess for afternoons. Jess has better handwriting than I do and arranges the display like she's designing an art gallery. She also told me my snowman section looked like a dad's bookshelf. Which apparently is both an insult and a direction. We laughed until we cried. Every Friday, I drop off a box of seconds, crooked hats, slightly smudged names, at the local senior center. The manager teared up the first time and said, "These are perfect to us." I started eating meals off plates instead of over the trash can at the shop. I slept 7 hours without dreaming of spreadsheets or overdraft alerts. I kept my phone on silent for entire days. And when the shop was closed, it actually stayed closed. Mom tried again. She sent messages with fake cheer and keywords like family dinner and bring ornaments for the table. I replied, "Can't. Shop hours." Which was true, and also boundary language. Sometimes she left a thumbs down emoji. Sometimes nothing. Dad came in twice. Didn't say much. Bought 2 ornaments labeled Fisherman 1989 with a $20 bill and the posture of a man halfway off the boat. "Your grandpa's proud," he said like it was a code phrase. "He says you did right." I wrapped the boxes and nodded. "Good." Bree posted a rebrand in February. Apartment resets, lifestyle tips, morning routines. She didn't ask for help. She didn't ask for money. She came in once and didn't ask for a family discount. We were polite, cordial, civil. The air between us didn't buzz anymore. That felt like grace. And then something weird started happening. Customers kept coming back, not just for ornaments. For conversations. While I painted, they talked. One woman told me about her adult daughter who borrowed her car and wrecked it, and never even apologized. Another whispered about cutting off her sister financially after 2 years of, "Just until I'm back on my feet." "I felt like a villain," she said. But then I started sleeping again. I nodded and handed her a snowflake with her dog's name on it. "I get it." One customer came back just to say, "You inspired me." I said no last week. First time in 20 years. She bought a glass heart. Left smiling. I realized I wasn't just selling ornaments. I was quietly selling permission. To say no. To stop carrying what you never agreed to hold. To draw a line and not apologize for it. Boundaries don't feel good at first. They feel cold. Lonely. Like slamming a door in a quiet house. But slowly, steadily, things get warmer again. I think Grandpa knew that. He didn't just hand me a legal pad that day. He handed me my name back. Not the helpful one. Not the fallback plan. Not the wallet with paint under his nails. Just Wade. Quiet. Steady. Ornamental. And not up for grabs. On the first warm day in March, a woman came into the shop and said, "My daughter just turned 16. I want to give her something that says, 'You don't owe the world your silence.'" I didn't flinch. I just nodded, picked up a blank glass bulb, and wrote "Speak Steady. Speak True" in deep blue script across the curve. She cried quietly while I tied the ribbon. I didn't try to fix it. I let her cry. Because sometimes that's all someone needs, a small, permanent reminder that they matter without debt. That night, I walked the BMW around the block. Not to show it off. Just to remember that it was mine again. Grandpa had it serviced last week, new tires, fresh oil, that same sensible hum it had when he first tossed me the keys. "This isn't for show," he'd said back then. "It's for work." And it still was. I parked it outside the shop with a new decal Jess helped design, Wade Works, handmade since 19. She wanted to add, "Painted with backbone." I told her it was too much. She said, "It's not enough." Every month now, I set aside a tiny fund, not for family. For strangers. One time it paid for a kid's prom dress. One time it covered a school supply drive. I help when I can. Freely. With both hands. But not because I owe anyone. Not because guilt handed me a script and said, "Read this." Not anymore. Mom still pokes the edges. A message about Easter dinner. A photo of the backyard with, "Your dad fixed the shed, reminds me of you." I reply when I want. I ignore when I need. I keep it on the weather, the garden, the geraniums. If she tries to pivot to money, I don't follow. I let the silence bloom. I think she's still waiting for me to cave. I think she always will. Bree is figuring it out. I don't root for her downfall. I root for her courage. Sometimes she posts videos I can't watch without wincing, another sponsored detox, another hashtag hustle post with staged messiness, but she's not asking anymore. That's enough for now. Dad dropped off an envelope once. No note. Just $300 in 20s and a grocery receipt. It wasn't repayment. It was a breadcrumb. I left it unopened until I felt steady enough to understand it was about him, not me. I hired Jess full-time. She comes in early, puts on a playlist, and keeps the place humming. Sometimes she brings her little sister after school, and they make lopsided snowman ornaments that we stash in a take one, leave one bowl for kids who wander in. One kid called it the treasure pile. We kept the name. One day, Grandpa sat at the corner table with a crossword and said, "You know what I admire most about your work?" I shook my head. "It's breakable," he said. "And you do it anyway." I thought about that for a long time. Because he's right. I don't make big, permanent things. I make small, fragile ones, little pieces of memory sealed in paint and glass. Things that last not because they're indestructible, but because someone chose to care for them. I think boundaries are like that. They don't make you safe because they're loud. They make you safe because they're clear. I used to think love looked like sacrifice. Like handing over your seat, your wallet, your car, your peace. But now I think real love looks like a chair pulled up next to you while you build something small. And real love says, tell me where your line is. I'll stand beside it. My name is Wade. I make quiet things with steady hands. And this life? This one right here? It's mine. Not borrowed. Not shared out of guilt. Not crowdsourced by family consensus. Mine. And it's beautiful.